What's good, Steeler Nation? My name is Jack Sperry, and this is Steelers Talk. We got a great show slated for you today. Mike Tomlin, he's expected to be reinstated here or extended here by the Steelers coming up this offseason. We're going to be breaking down the report where Gerry Dulac actually broke the news. And then Pat Freiermuth. He had some really interesting things to say about Matt Canada's offense on Ben Roethlisberger's podcast yesterday, so we're going to go over that as well. And then finally, stick around where I'm going to be giving you some names to watch this week. The Shrine Bowl is happening this week. The Senior Bowl is happening this week. Potentially a future Steeler is going to be on the field this weekend, so I'll tell you which names to look out for. But before we get started with today's show, I want to invite you to come by Thursday where we're going to be having our first live show here on the channel. It'll be happening at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Central here in Dallas, Texas. It's a bit snowy here in Dallas today, but hopefully everything clears up by Thursday, and it's going to be fantastic. We're going to have Q&A, mock draft. There's going to be a bunch of great stuff on that show, so make sure to go subscribe to the channel right now if you haven't already. We're going to be doing a live show every single Thursday from this point forward, so go ahead, subscribe, and turn on notifications if you haven't already so you get notified whenever we go live. All right, so now let's go right into the news today, which is that Mike Tomlin is expected to get an extension this offseason, according to Gerry Dulac, who is very, very connected inside of the Pittsburgh Steelers building. He writes for the Post-Gazette there in Pittsburgh. And, you look at Mike Tomlin, there's a lot of people that don't want him to return, want him to be fired, don't think he's a good head coach. And the reason for that is that over the last 6 years, it's been a little bit disappointing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? You've had a couple of pretty darn good seasons, like in 2017 and in 2020, right, where he put up 12-plus wins, but there's also been a lot of mediocre seasons in there, a 9-6-1 season in 2018, 8-8 in 2019, and then the last 2 years, although they made the playoffs in 2021 at 9-7-1, they just went 9-8 and missed the playoffs this year. So there's a lot of mediocrity going on in Pittsburgh right now. You have won 2 AFC North titles, I should say, over the last 6 years, but you have 0 playoff wins in 3 appearances. So some believe that Mike Tomlin is a bit overrated, but in my opinion, I think he's a good head coach. I think that he should stay with the Steelers, and here are some reasons why. Number one, he hasn't lost the locker room yet. One of the reasons why some people say to get rid of him is because the locker room's gotten stale. His messaging has gotten stale. If you listen to the Pittsburgh Steelers players in that locker room, that is not the case whatsoever. Mike Tomlin, they would run through a wall for Mike Tomlin, man. This guy has a firm grasp of this locker room. These players will play for him and play through anything for him. Number two, he consistently delivers great defenses. He's done it with different types of personnel. He's done it with a bunch of different players, a couple of different schemes now. Last year when TJ Watt was on the field, this defense, coordinated by Terrell Austin and, of course, Mike Tomlin with the defensive game planning, it was fantastic. It was one of the best in the National Football League, ranking first or second in almost every single category when TJ Watt was on the field. And then third, he has proven that he can win a title. Okay, it's my opinion, guys, that if you're a head coach and you win a Super Bowl, you don't just get there because you're lucky, right? You don't get there because you're a bad head coach. I think it's impossible for a bad head coach to win an NFL championship. I just think it's too difficult. The stakes are too high, right? It's too difficult to win in the postseason, to win that many games in a row against the best teams in the league. I don't care what players that you have. I don't care what assistant coaches you have. You need to be a good head coach to win a Super Bowl, and Tomlin has done that. It's been a while, but I still think that Tomlin has it in him to be a champion and bring Pittsburgh back to glory. And at the end of the day, guys, my final argument on this is that the best head coaches give their teams a consistent foundation for success and give their teams a shot year in and year out. And that's exactly what Mike Tomlin has done for the Pittsburgh Steelers. 16 years now without a losing season. That is something that not many people can do. Let's just put it that way. With the way that the NFL is built for parity, where teams are supposed to be good and then supposed to be bad. Like the Steelers have been one of the most consistent franchises in the league with Mike Tomlin at the helm, and he's had a lot of really great seasons too. It's not like he's just going 9-7 every single year. He's had multiple double-digit win seasons. He's put this team in a position to win championships pretty much throughout his entire career. And in my opinion, he is still someone that can bring Pittsburgh back to Super Bowl glory. All right, guys, go in the comment section right now and rate Mike Tomlin as an NFL head coach right now. This will be the pinned comment on today's video. So whenever you get an ad break here on the show, go ahead and go into the comment section, find that pinned comment. It'll be right there at the top, and answer today's question. For me, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give him a 9. So the reason why it's not 10 is because he's had some very questionable offensive coordinator hires the last couple times that he's hired guys like Matt Canada. Not a big fan. I'm going to be getting into that later in the show here. But overall, as a coach, as a leader of men, as a defensive game planner, I think that he's a fantastic head coach. Overall, I'm going to give him a 9. All right, so Pat Freiermuth went on Big Ben Roethlisberger's Footballers podcast. I think it was yesterday, and he had some really interesting things to say about Matt Canada and the Steelers offense. He said, it's so different because we didn't have hots, and by hots he means hot routes. With you, we'd have a concept. How many times would you look at Tay and just give him one of these, points to his head, and we would get a 12-yard completion? We didn't have that this year. And then he goes on to say, we were looking at the coverage and saying, okay, I know what I'm supposed to do. It was almost too slow at first. With you, we could see cover zero, and by you, he means Big Ben Roethlisberger, and you were giving us a ram, which is a hot route call. So that's what was most different. So, and this kind of goes against what Matt Canada himself said earlier in the season when he said, I think that question has come up. Audibles and checks, we have obviously had checks in our offense forever. There's times he, as in Kenny Pickett, goes up there and he has to check, run to run, pass to pass, based on look, based on technique. And in my opinion, guys, I think that Matt Canada lied, and I think that he's an absolute fraud. I'm going to tell you why Matt Canada's offense is one of the worst in the National Football League and why the Steelers made the wrong decision. Let's have a word from our sponsor here today at BetUS, which is the sportsbook partner here at Chat Sports, and they're offering you guys a fantastic deal, a 125% deposit bonus when you go to chatsports.com/bet and use promo code Steelers125. So here's what that means, guys. You put in a deposit of $100 to $600, they're going to give you 125% of that money back to you to use on your bet. So if you put in, say, $100, you're going to get $125 additional dollars to use on betting on the Super Bowl, betting on college basketball, betting on anything here over the next couple of months. NHL is starting to heat up, right? NBA is starting to heat up. I love sports betting, guys. It really gives me a certain kind of rush that you just can't get by just watching the games. So go ahead and take advantage of this great deal right now by going to chatsports.com/bet and use promo code Steelers125 to get that 125% deposit bonus. All right, so for me, guys, I think Canada is a liar and a fraud. So he straight up said, Kenny Pickett can make audibles, he has hot routes, he has all these different things, and he straight up lied about it. I mean, his tight end just went on a podcast and said otherwise. So first of all, I don't really know why he lied about it. He could have just been like, no, we don't let Kenny do these sorts of things. But at the end of the day, guys, this sort of stuff, it's college level stuff. It's a college level offense that the Steelers have going right now. And what NFL offense doesn't use these kinds of hot routes, these sight adjustments? Every single NFL offense that I have studied in the past has these things installed into their offense. And really the only offenses that I've seen that don't do this are college level offenses. You see it at Ohio State. You see it at a bunch of different colleges that don't let their quarterbacks do these sorts of things against zero pressure, against pressure looks. But as for Kenny Pickett, like I'm worried for him. I'm worried for him because this offense is not putting him in a position to succeed. He needs to be able to, when he sees all-out pressure, to be able to give someone a look, give someone a hand gesture, a word call, something where they know that they can do something. And they actually mention a ram route, which actually means running against the middle linebacker. So if he has inside leverage, they run outside. If the middle linebacker has outside leverage, then an inside route. And these sorts of calls, they should just be built into an NFL offense. But unfortunately for Kenny Pickett, he's dealing with a college-level offense. And if Matt Canada had any sense whatsoever, going into year 2 with Kenny Pickett knowing this offense more, after having success in this offense in the second half of the season, he would give him the full reins of the full breadth of audibles and checks and hot routes. He needs to be taking it to that next level. And if you don't think Kenny Pickett can handle that, then he's not your franchise quarterback. I think he can handle it. Matt Canada needs to wise up, take his offense to the next level, make it more of a pro-style offense, and give his quarterback a chance to succeed. And at the end of the day, guys, I think what would be smart is if the Steelers brought in somebody like a Byron Leftwich, right? Somebody that's on the open market right now, just got fired by the Buccaneers. Bring him in as a senior offensive assistant, someone that's been a former Steeler, knows Mike Tomlin personally, right? He's been an offensive coordinator in this league from 2018 to 2022. He's a Super Bowl champion play caller with the Buccaneers, right? I'm not sure if his offense specifically is a good fit for Kenny Pickett and the Steelers per se, but I think that he's somebody with experience in the offensive game planning. His offense does have hot routes, all these different things that they could implement. So more help is always welcomed, in my opinion. If they brought in Leftwich as a senior offensive assistant, I think that would be fine. And then also, if Matt Canada just turns out to be terrible next year, which is a very big possibility, you have Byron Leftwich, a former play caller that you can plug in right away and use him for the future instead of Matt Canada. Let me know in the comments section right now, do you think Matt Canada will be fired by this time next year? Type Y if you think yes, or type N if you think no. All right, so I'm going to give you a couple of names here. 5 names from the Shrine Bowl and 5 names from the Senior Bowl here to kind of finish out the show. Some guys to keep your eye on here as the week progresses. At the Shrine Bowl, Zay Flowers, somebody that the Steelers might be looking at potentially a day 2 pick. Really good receiver, kind of a bit on the smaller side, but he's a great route runner, great body control. He has some really great highlights. I think that, if he was a bit bigger, if he was a bit stronger, he would definitely be a first-round draft pick. He's a borderline first-rounder right now, but probably going to land in that early day 2 range in the second round. Then you got Carter Warren, the Steelers. He is the left tackle for the Pitt Panthers when Kenny Pickett was at Pitt. So he has experience with Kenny Pickett, all these different things. And I think that with the Steelers looking to interview him, and they actually gave him an interview earlier this week, it's looking like that they have interest in this young man. So keep an eye on how he does this week at the Shrine Bowl. Then Keandre Coburn, the nose tackle from Texas, kind of a later round prospect if the Steelers want to go get a nose tackle like in round 5 or 6. Then you got Yasir Abdullah, the edge out of Louisville, who is a bit undersized, but the Steelers run a 3-4. So Abdullah, he's kind of a pass rush specialist. If you draft him kind of in the later rounds, maybe in round 4 or so, you can bring him in as kind of a rotational piece on third downs to give Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt a break. And then Mekhi Gardner, cornerback out of LSU, very long, very lanky. This is, like I said, this is a very good cornerback class. Garner's somebody that's going to go probably in the middle rounds, maybe late day 2, early day 3, somewhere in that range. But the Steelers, if they want to bring back a Keller Witherspoon, Levi Wallace, Arthur Maulet, all these different guys, and they're looking for more of a developmental kind of player, Mekhi Gardner is definitely the toolsy type of corner that they could be looking at. And then over on the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama, you look at Cody Mock, the offensive lineman out of North Dakota State, somebody that doesn't even have his 2 front teeth, man. Like he looks like a straight up hillbilly, but man, he's big, he is athletic, he's got all those physical tools, but he's still very raw. Some people think he's going to be a guard and not a tackle. It'll be very interesting to see how he does in drills, and then of course in the game this week in mobile. And then Isaiah Foskey from Notre Dame, somebody that some people think is a bit more raw, but he could definitely play outside linebacker in Mike Tomlin's 3-4 scheme. I think that he's somebody that's very athletic, someone with a very high upside, potentially a day 2 pick for the Steelers there in the second round. Then Keanu Benton, nose tackle from Wisconsin. Very big, very explosive, very good player. I think he's probably going to be a top 3 round player, maybe. I think probably in the 3rd round is where he's going to end up going. He's a very big player. We know the Steelers need a nose tackle. Keep your eye on Benton this week. Then Nathaniel Dell, I've had the Steelers take them in a couple of my mock drafts lately. I think that he's an explosive player. I think that he's somebody that can really be a contributor on special teams, a late round wide receiver that could really be a contributor for the Steelers moving forward. So keep your eye on Nathaniel Dell. And then Max Duggan. So the Steelers actually met with Dorian Thompson-Robinson at the Shrine Bowl earlier this week. And, another guy to keep your eye on there is kind of like a 7th-round quarterback that the Steelers might be looking into is Max Duggan. I think Max Duggan's a pretty darn good player. I think he's a smart player, but, accuracy can be hit or miss at times. I think he's definitely a 7th-round guy, but he's a culture builder. He seems like the type of guy that can carve out an NFL career as a backup, in my opinion, so keep your eye on Duggan as well. So name a player that's playing in the Senior Bowl or the Shrine Bowl that you'll be keeping your eye on this week as far as the Steelers go. It could be someone on my list. If I miss somebody, let me know. Name a player down in the comments right now. All right, guys, here is your second reminder here to go and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like I said, we're going live every single Thursday from here on out. So go ahead and turn on notifications if you haven't already, so you always get notified when there's breaking news, whenever we go live. Normally on a Thursday, you're really going to want to get that because we here at Steelers Talk, we give you comprehensive Steelers news and rumors content. Every time the Steelers make a cut, every time they make a signing, every time they make a trade, we will have breaking news coverage for you here on the channel, as well as daily videos. So if you need your Steelers fix this offseason, want to keep up on everything the black and gold is doing here, go ahead and click that subscribe button right now.